Hello everyone and welcome back to part 4. Today we will continue from where we left off last time. So in the last video we were starting to set up our application and the project structure and some of the base infrastructure. I know this is taking a bit of a time, but this is absolutely important. I know because once you have the base infrastructure set up correctly, the actual implementation of the application becomes extremely fast-paced, as we will see little bit down the line when we are building this application. So we will continue setting up the infrastructure. So one of the things we did right now is we just created the folder structures, we added some services, we set up our Maui program to use these services, added some fonts, images, etc., etc. Now what we will do, we'll go back to our app.xaml, and you remember we said that we are removing the default implementation of the colors and the styles which comes out of the box. Instead we will be using our own styles. So let me actually just copy paste. Again, I'm not going to be explaining all of them in great details. You can have a look at it from my Beyond Monkeys 1 series. I explained everything, but here I am defining some colors for page background color, a color for dark, for light, dark text color, light text color, dark border color, light border color, some tint color, light foreground color, icon background color, and then I have these common page style. So I am applying a style to all my content pages and its derived types to make sure that it does not have a navigation bar, and the background color of every page is my page background color, and I'm making sure that there is no padding in any of my pages. Similarly, for my navigation page, basically I'm saying that the bar background color, I'm setting it to the page background color, so I want it to be same color throughout. The bar text, even though I'm hiding, I'm setting it bar text color to white, bar background color to the page background color, and the icon color to white. In our case, this is actually not required. You can make do without it because we have said that we do not have a navigation bar. But it is actually better if you keep it tomorrow for some of the page. If you do want to enable navigation bar, then you can use these common styles. Then I have style for my grids, for my borders. For example, I want to make sure that there is no padding or margin. All the column spacing, row spacings are 0 in my grids. The vertical and horizontal options are set to fill. The background color of all my grids is transparent. My border has again no paddings or margins. The fill options for the horizontal and vertical are set. The stroke thickness for all my borders is 0 by default, and I can change it as required. Similarly, a collection view style, I want to make sure that I optimize it by setting the item sizing strategy to measure the first item and only change it when required, because measure first item helps a lot with optimization and virtualization of the collection view. And again, the similar concept, I also make sure that I'm not showing the scroll bar indicators either horizontally or vertically, and by default I'm not allowing any selection mode on my collection views because I handle them through my view model. And I have a style for my image buttons. I'm calling it icon button style. So you can see up until now, before that, I'm not giving it a key. These are going to be applied to all collection views or borders or grids. But here now I have defined a named style for my image button. I'm calling it icon button style of certain width and height with certain padding for, let's say if it is Android, give it 4 points, otherwise 2 points on any say iOS or anything else. Some background color, my margin to left and right is 0 but top bottom 3, aspect, corner radius, some visual states I'm setting to changing the opacity. Similarly, I have a named style for my image button. This is for the bottom menu bar style. This is the one that you are seeing over here. Sorry, apologies, this one. So without any border, without any background fill, this is what we are doing. I'm styling this. Then I have a style for my image, which is operating system image style. What do we mean by this operating system image style? If I go on this, you can see this is the icons that I'll be showing, and I'm saying that I'll be defaulting the height and width to 50 points aspect ratio of aspect fit, and my margin is 6 points on either side and no top and bottom margins. And then I have another button style, which is the text button style, which I am using, I believe, over here. If we do this, so these are the text button styles that I'm using. So without any underline, without any border, I have my base label styles. So this is a label style which is base regular dark label style. So for the dark text, I'm using, for everywhere, I'm using line break mode is trail truncation. So if it expands, it will show ellipses. Font auto scaling, I'm disabling it. Font family is the regular font. Text color is the dark text color. And then what I have after that, I have defined based on this base regular text style. You can see I have defined different styles. For example, regular dark text 12 style. Here I'm just taking this, adding a font size of 12. I have defined another one, regular dark text 14, taken this original one, added the font size of 14. I have not defined the font size here, and so on. So I have defined it in different sizes. Similarly, for the light one, I could have defined another one like this, and I would have called it a base regular light label style, but I decided not to. But yes, ideally that is the best way, just to save some space, to make it quick. So I'm just taking the same style which is over here, and the only thing I'm doing, I'm changing the text color in these to the light text color. And then this is a medium label style that I'm using. So this was for the regular font. This one is base medium dark label style, and it is using the medium font. Same concept. Based on this, I am defining different sizes and different colors and so on. And then there is one which is called page header text style. This is again based on the base medium, and the font size is 22. So these are my base styles, the one that we will use across the board in our application. Now, once this is done, I am going to go and focus on building some further infrastructure for our application. So under base, I am going to create a new folder. Let's create a new folder, and we are going to call it views. So under base, we have a new folder called views, and under base, we'll create another folder called view models. So this is where we'll define some view model base, and a page base, or a main content page, or let's call it a master page, which all our pages will inherit from. And here, let's actually go ahead, and I'm going to create a class called app view model base. And this is the class, or this is the view model which all of our view models will inherit from. So this is going to be a simple one. So I'm going to inherit it from view model base. So view model base, which is going to come from, if my IntelliSense helps me, which is, now it comes up. So you maui.apps.framework MVVM. Again, not going to explain it, but this is what has been defined over here. It is a series of some properties, which if I can open, yeah, series of some properties, titles, is busy, loading text, data loaded, some helper functions, and so on. I've explained all of these in my previous video. And here I am just going to go ahead and add some additional functionality, which I want all of my application view models to inherit from. So this is an application app view model, and I'm going to bring in iNavigation service. I'm going to call it navigation service. Another page service. I'll explain where this is coming from. And it says missing partial. Let's add partial because we are using source. Are we using source generator somewhere? Yes, we are using source generator. So we need to change it to partial. And we are also, we will be injecting, or in this particular case, we'll be creating an instance of the app API service. Sorry, not injecting it, the app API service and the app settings service, which we'll be getting from, the dependency injection. If you see over here, so we have got our settings service and the API service. So we'll be injecting it in every view model we want to make use of it. And then I have defined a couple of commands. One is for navigate to navigate to the previous page. As an example, if I click on this, just to show you, if I press the back button, and this is a custom back button that I have created. This is not the default one. So this is the function which gets called from any of the view models to go back. And I have a close model. So let me just click on, say, this settings. So you see this is again a custom icon that I have created. And if I click on this, it closes. So it is just using the navigation service .pop modal async. And this is of type iNavigation. We will see how we are bringing this into our view model every time. I'll show that to you. This is again something which is going to be done automatically once we have finished building the infrastructure. So let's go ahead and close this. In fact, before we close, let me take this out, and being a good citizen, let's put this global usings. So this is from the base project. Anything which is app specific, I usually prefer to keep it at the very bottom. Anything which is third-party libraries, I put them at the top. Anything else which I have created which is coming from other support projects, in this particular case this one, I keep it over here. So this is the model that I use. So we are good, it has recognized this. Now then under the views, this is where we can go ahead and we can create some common views. So actually let's create some view controls first. So let me call it view controls. So these are the reusable controls that we will use, and then some views we will also add. So let us start with an error indicator. So add a new file. This time around I'm going to choose a Maui content view XAML, not the content page, a content view. So this is going to be a content view. Let me clean up so that it starts looking nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do to this, to start with, I'm going to say by default this is not going to be a content view. Rather, let me do something. Let me open up the error indicator.cs file as well, because we'll be making changes parallelly. So I don't want this to be a content view. I want this to be a vertical stack layout. And since I am making it a vertical stack layout, I have to go back here to the code behind file, and I also need to change the content view to vertical stack layout. Then I can actually go ahead and remove the default that comes out of this, and by default I want this to start as false. So I do not want it to be visible, and I also want to give it some padding of say 4812. So 48 pixels or points on either side, left or right, and 12 points from top and bottom. So this is something very simple. Now the other thing that I am going to do is I am going to go to my code behind, and I'm going to define some dependency so bindable properties that I can make use of. So let me actually go ahead and let me add them. So if I go back to my code behind, let's go ahead and put it at the top. Let me put some space. So here I have defined a few bindable properties, a Boolean bindable property which is error of type Boolean. So this will be used to indicate if there is an error on the from the view model, or let's say while fetching data from the API, or while performing any action that we want to do. Again, not going to explain it in details. It is all explained in the Beyond Monkeys 1 series. So please have a look at that. So this is error property. Then we have an error text property which will display the error text. And what we are doing in this, whenever this error text property changes, we are going to set the LBL error text, the label which we do not have right now over here. We are going to set the error to this error text, and then we also have an error image. So we can also pass in the different images that we want to use. Let's say one error is as an example, no internet connection. So we want to display no internet error connection. Let me see if I have any of these images in our resources quickly, just to check. Okay, not in this project, but in the tube player application, I did add them. So we can specify different images. So this is what we are doing, and we are just setting that the image control over here, which you do not have yet, to this image file that comes in. So we are just creating an image source out of it. Now with this one, let's go ahead and let's fix this. So inside this vertical text, vertical stack layout, what I am going to do, I am going to bring in some content since it is vertical stack layout. So the first thing I'm going to have is an image. So this is the IMG error, the one I was talking about. So let me save this, and if I go back, these errors have disappeared now because it knows where to go and set it. So this is bound to the error image. I have a label which is just displaying OO, is in big heading using the dark medium text 18 style, and this is the LBL error text, and this is of type style regular dark text 14. And here I have overwritten the line break mode to word wrap, not tail truncation, and I'm also horizontally centering it. So this is the error control or error indicator that we will continue using throughout our application. And in fact, when I say throughout the application, you will notice we will not need to use this again and again. It will be defined only once, and then it will be available for us automatically. Okay, now the next one that we will need to do is, let's copy paste, let's actually create another control, and this time we are going to create another MAUI content view, and this I'm going to call it as loading indicator. So same thing, let me clean it up so it looks nice. Yes, I can remove the default stuff which is provided, and let me actually open this up as well, because this one also we will change it to the we can change it to the vertical stack layout. But for the time being, what I'm going to do, I am going to leave this empty. All I'm going to do, I will leave it as content view, and I'm going to set this as is visible to false. If you remember in my previous MAUI tube player, let me actually go back to that project and show you what I have done there, just to give you a rough idea. There I also used a vertical stack layout. So this is our loading indicator, and this is a vertical stack layout. All it has is an activity indicator and a label control. So basically just it will show you something is happening, indicator which will go out, and then at the bottom it will display to you what action is being performed. But in this particular case, I'm leaving this empty for now because we will be doing it in a different way. Instead of showing the default indicator, we will be making use of Lottie animations to come up with a nice display. I don't know if you noticed when I ran this application, because right now the data is cached for some times, right? When I ran this, there was a nice animation, a phone which was loading with some gradient effects, and to show you that something is being happening. So please be patient. And to make use of this, for the time being, what I am going to do, I'm just going to bring in some bindable properties, or in fact just one bindable property for that matter, which is busy of type boolean, and that's all we are doing. We are just saying the control as this, and we are just setting it to is visible equals to true, or when we are done loading, we can remove this. So what do we want to do actually in this? So as I said, I want to be using Lottie animation, So to use Lottie animation, what we need to do, we need to actually go ahead and we need to add a package, which is the Skia Sharp views package. So let me actually go and search for it. Let's include the pre-releases. So I'll add the Skia Sharp.extended.ui.maui version 2.0 preview 61. I'll add this package and let's hope it gets added successfully this time around. Yes, it is. Seems like it is adding. Yes, it has added this. And once we have done this, we will go back to our Maui program, and what we will need to do in our builder, we will also need to tell it to use Skia Sharp. So we can say to use Skia Sharp, and it is asking us to using Skia Sharp. Again, this Skia Sharp we are not going to be using anywhere else in our project, so I am just going to ignore this for now. Over here I'm not going to bring this to my global usings. Okay, so we have included this. We do not need anything more over here, but what we need to do to make use of Lottie animation, we need to have the JSON file. You can actually go to Lottie files. So let me actually go to Lottie files, and you can search for, or you can find any nice animation that you want. In this case, I just searched for loading and I found one. So let me search for loading. In fact, I think I searched for loading mobile. You need to be signed in. So you can see over here you have a lot of these nice animations. So I just found one animation and I just brought in. Now this animation file you need to bring it to your under the resources, and you need to bring it under the raw folder. So under the raw you have nothing at the moment, so you need to bring it to raw folder. So I'm just going to add this. This is called loading anim.json. Just be mindful, I ran into some issue. I renamed it to loading.json to start with, and for some reason it was not working for me. I do not know what is the reason. It was simply not working for me. So what I had to do, and after a lot of struggling and trying to figure out what the issue is, I noticed that if I rename it to anything other than loading, this works. So I just changed it to loading anim.json file. So coming back to our loading indicator, what we will do, I will add another namespace, and this time this namespace I'm just going to call it Skia, and this is coming from Skia Sharp extended UI controls. This is the one that we added, and once we have added this, we can go ahead and we can simply add a SK Lottie view, and I can give it a name which is loading animation, which you will see we will actually be making use of. So you can say I'm just giving it a name, and the source is the loading anim.json. Repeat count is -1, which means it will keep on repeating. Repeat mode is also reverse, so it will run the animation and then it will run the animation in reverse, and then repeat count -1 means it will do the same process again. I'm giving it a width and a height request of 58 and 120, and I'm centering it on the screen. Once I have added this, what I can do is I can go back to this, and I can say where I had this control dot is visible is true. I can actually now say control dot what's the name that we gave? It was loading animation dot is animation enabled equals to bool of this new value. I think for the time being it is not picking it up. Let me just copy paste in case I have misspelled it. I notice this with Visual Studio, sometimes it behaves erratically. So this is the loading indicator that we will be using. Okay. What now we need to do is, once we have this, the base view controls, we actually need to define a master page for all of our pages. This master page, as you can see over here, will have a common style for our header. It will have, depending on what type of page it is. Let me click on this. So this is a forward navigation, so it will have a background, back button page. If I click on a model page, it will have a custom icon over here, and all of these pages will also make use of these two view controls that we created, the error indicator and the loading indicator. So I do not need to add them to any of my pages manually, and all of these will also automatically wire up to my view model with very little definition. So let's actually go ahead and in our views, let's add a new content page XAML control. Let's call it page base. And I am going to just in fact, we can get rid of the title altogether. We do not need the title, and we can remove the default implementation. So this is a simple content page that we have, and I'm going to bring in some code and I will explain. Again, I will not go into greater depth explaining this code. You can have a look at my Maui series, Monkey Apps series 1, and there I have explained it in default. So basically in this content page, I am just basically, it just has one grid. It's a grid, and I'm saying ignore safe area is true so that it extends everywhere. And inside this I have 3 rows. So the rows are, the first row is the status bar definition, and the height of this is, so this is the height. So I want from here to here, this. So I want it to be on Android to be of size 16, on iOS 36, and default I want it to be 0. The other second row is going to be this whole this width, which is, I'm setting it to auto. This is my header row, and the last row is the actual content of the page, which is this. So I am putting an asterisk, which is basically take the whole of the space. So just 3 rows, 1 row at the top for the status bar height, second row for my header, and third row for the actual content. Now inside this, let me actually collapse everything for now and show you. So inside this, basically I just have at high level 3 things, but you can see 4 over here. So these two, I'll club them together. So you can see at the top I have this very first thing in my third row, so which is grid row 2. I just have this error indicator, and since this is giving me an error, let me bring in the namespace for this. Okay, it is not helping me. So we can go ahead, XML NS, what did we call it, base controls, and this is equal to my view controls, Snppts App.base.view controls. So this is where I have defined these error indicator and the busy indicator. So you can see nothing fancy I'm doing. I'm just putting these error indicators, row number 2, both of them, and here I'm binding the is error to the is error state, which is going to come from my view model. Now, right now you can see there is no view model. Don't worry about this, it will all become very clear. Again, I explained all of that in very great details in my previous series. Error image, error message, centering it on the screen. Similarly for the indicator, using the is busy, which is coming from the view model, centering it on the screen. And then for the actual content, I am again putting it, you can notice right now I'm not putting it into any of these rows. Ideally it should be going into row number 2, but I'll explain why. So I'm not putting it in any row. So I'm just giving it a name saying page content grid, and again ignore safe area is true, so that if required it will take up the safe area below as well as at the top. So this is where the actual content will be coming. So consider that as a master page, and all your pages will be derived from this page, and this is where that content will go. And then I have a common place for my header. So this is going in my grid row 1, which is this one, the second row at the top. I'm giving it basically three columns, 92 points on either sides. This is enough to take around 2 icons on each side if required. And then in the middle, it's taking up all the space. This is where the text or the header will come in. I'm giving it a margin, again ignoring the safe area. Inside this, let me actually collapse all of them, and then I'll explain in details what do we have. So inside this page header grid, the first thing that we have is the icons for the left side, which is over here. So on the left side, I'm just calling this as, basically here I have 2 icons only. So one is this navigate back button, and the other is the close button, and these are coming from the ICN back and ICN close. These custom, let me show you. So this is the ICN close icon, and if I click on this, this is the ICN back icon, and you can see both of these are using the icon button style, the one that we defined, and I'm giving it names as well. So navigate back button and close button, and this will become evident in a while why we are using this. And they are in column 0 over here, and they are bound to the navigate back command and the close model command. These are the commands that we defined over here in our app view model base. So once we derive our view models from this view model base, all of them will have access to this. So basically in every view model and every page, we have access to this close model command and the navigate back command. So this is our page header, the left hand side for the icons. And then we have space for icons on the right. This is where we can put in the icons. So here you can see I have put in 2 icons. If I go over here, I have put just 1 icon. This is again as part of the content. It can be customized. If I go to this page, there is no icon. It's all optional. I'm calling it page icons grid, putting it in column 2, which is column number 3 over here. Vertical option is center and horizontal option is end. So it is putting it to the end, these icons. Not these icons, these are page icons, but the placeholder. And then in between, I have simply a label. Middle column, I'm giving it a title or a name, title label. By default, it is visible to false. It is vertically centered. Horizontally, it is filled, but the horizontal text alignment, I've set it to center, because on Android, I believe, or iOS, on either one, by default, the header comes on the left, and in the other, it comes in the center. But I want to keep it consistent between both iOS and Android. So I have done it this way. So always it will appear in the center. And I have given it some margin and some page style. So this is our simple page base that we have defined. Now there are some things that we still need to do in the background. So if we go back here, let me show you a couple of places. One is this place for sure, and then in the here we have the icons for the right side. So you can see there are these 2 placeholders that we defined. One is the page content grid where the content of each page can be defined, and then we have the page icons grid where the icons for each of the pages defined. So how are we going to get these? So for this, what I have done is in the background, in the code behind, I can simply define a couple of properties. So these properties are basically page content and page icons, and they are basically the children of the page content grid and the page icons grid. So this is, if I go back, this is the page content grid that I've defined. So grid has children, and page icons grid, and this is also a grid, so it has children. And I'm just mapping it to a name called page content or page icons. And this is again just a simple I list of Maui iView components. It's a simply list view, and in every page that derives, all I need to say is in that page content is equal to something again in XAML, and page icons is some XAML, which automatically will go as the children of these two controls. Now for the purpose of some of the other controls and the look and feel, let me actually go ahead and let me define some bindable properties as well, and I'll explain what these are, not in great details. It is all defined in the previous one, but so one property I'm defining is the page title. This is the page title which is appearing over here. So page title. The other is page mode, and why it is not taking quick actions using MAUI page framework. So page mode. So this page mode will determine whether it is the home page where no icon needs to be shown, or it is a navigation page where a back icon has to be shown, or it is a model page where this icon has to be shown. Simple as that. And you can see over here in the code I am defining, if it is a menu page, no icon needs to be shown. So I am just setting both the navigate and the close buttons to invisible. In the tube player application, I have put in a hamburger menu icon, so I'm playing with that, but for this application I've removed it altogether. For the navigate icon, I'm hiding the close button but showing the back button. For the modal, I'm doing the reverse, and for the default I'm hiding, which is again same as the menu or the main page, I'm hiding both of them. The last one I have is my content display mode. So content display mode, if you look into this actually takes it actually has two types, navigation bar or no navigation bar. Ideally this should have been status bar or no status bar. So depending on, if I say this navigation bar, then this area is visible. So my main content spans my main content only goes into grid row number 2, which is over here, and it only spans one row, which is the actual row. But if I say no navigation bar, then this whole area becomes available for my application. So here all I'm saying is, in this particular case, set the row to 0, so it is starting at this, and the row span to 3, so which means it is spanning all 3 of them. So that is what it does. Let me actually see if I have something. No, I do not have an application to show you, but if you install series watch list, maybe I can search it and at least show it to you on the internet how it looks like. So this is one of my application, the same concept that I am using over here. So just have a look at this page. Here you can see it is not extending this content. The list view is not extended into all my areas. So my first row is the status bar, second row is the title view, and the third row is where the content comes. But if you look at this next one, here my content is extended into the status bar as well as the header as well. So it is behind everything. So this is what I have done. So this is what I mean by this. You can do it over there. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is, even though, let me go back to my app.xaml. Where is my app.xaml? Let me hide this. If I go back to my app.xaml, now one of the things we have done is, I have set on all of my content pages that my navigation page .has navigation bar is false. So I am actually telling that all my content pages should not have a navigation bar. But strangely, I noticed sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. I do not know what is the reason behind that. Might be a bug, but regardless, to handle that, I found that okay, at least in all of my pages, I can put this navigation page dot set has navigation bar for this page as false, which is actually the same thing which I'm already doing over here. Navigation page dot has navigation bar to false, I'm already doing, but I notice sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. Between, I don't know whether it is Visual Studio versions or it is Maui service releases, I'm not sure what it is, but this one I found it to be consistently work for me. And the other thing that I'm going to do is, in my page on the load by default, what if, let us say, see, these are bindable properties, this content display mode or content display mode, or the page mode, these are bindable properties. What if someone forgot to set this by default, because these should be optional? So to handle that optional part, what I will do, I will default it to something. So I will say my set page mode to page mode dot none, which means none of the menu icons, or not the menu icons, sorry, the back button or the close button is visible. And I will set the content display mode to no navigation bar, which is extending into the full page. So this is to handle if nothing is passed. But if something is passed, after this is called the default ones, if you pass the content mode as navigation bar, then this logic will run and it will override that portion. So this is the page base. Now what happens is, once this page base is added, we can derive all of our pages from this page base, and all the pages will have the same look and feel. But we want to go one step further. Again, something which I have explained in the Beyond Monkeys 1 series. I want to automate something additional. I want to be able to tie up or auto-magically tie up this page or my pages with the view models, and handle the back functionality, etc., all of that automatically. So and to also be able to provide that the page service and a navigation service. So from inside of my view models, any pages view model, I can call it to go back to navigate to a new page, or to open or display an alert, or display a confirmation sheet, or display this, or do that. So I want to do that. So for that purpose, I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to create a new class, not a page this time, by the way, mind you, a class, and I'm going to call it a view base. So I will not extend all my pages from page base. Instead, I would extend them from view base, and this view base is going to be an extension of the page base that I created. So let me go ahead and clean this up a bit first. So what I will do, this view base, I want it to be of type certain view model. So let's call it T view model. Okay, so one thing. And the second thing I want to do is, I want it to be a page. I want this whole layout to be driven from the page base. But this T view model I want to control. So I want to say, what is my T view model? I don't want anyone to come in and say, oh, derive me from this class. No, I want it from my app view model base. App view model base. So let's quick refactoring using snippets.base view models. So this is the base view model that we created over here of this type, because all of our view models are going to be inheriting from this, and this is the common things that we need in every view model. So that is the reason we are saying it needs to derive from only a app view model base, basically derived class, and visually it is driven from, or it is inheriting the page base. So this is what we are going to do. This is very simple. Now the other thing I'm going to do, there are some additional things that we need to do over here. I'm going to just remove this, copy paste for now and explain. So just a protected boolean, page has loaded. T view model, the one that is being passed, view model, I'm going to save it so that we can make use of it. Object view model parameters, if something is passed to this page, which we will also see when we are talking about navigation. For example, when I click on this, I'm passing in the ID of this screen or this snippet, and it is loading this from the database, and it is displaying it on the screen. So I need to pass something. So it takes some parameters. I'm also having some view model initialized event handler, which we will see again, a little bit down the road. And this view base, either you can call it without a parameter or with the parameter. So if you pass it with the parameter, we are setting the view model parameters in this variable, which we will pass on. And then we are checking if the page has not loaded. So basically, if not page has loaded, if the page has not loaded before, this is the first time this page is appearing on the screen when I click on this one. So this is the first time when the page is appearing. At that time, I'm setting the binding context of that page, let's say this page or the next page that I'm opening, to the view model, binding context and the view model, which is the local variable that I've defined, to the service helpers. Let's actually bring in, this is the service helpers that we defined in Snppts App apps.helpers. So the one that we defined over here. So get service of type this tview models. And where are we defining all of these? We are defining all of these services over here. So start page view model, add new snippets page view model, settings page view model, snippet details page view model, and so on. So it is going to get this from there. And then in this view model, it is going to set the navigation service and page service to this page, and this page is navigation, so that we can make use of it. And if the view model initialized function has been subscribed to, it will invoke that, and then it will just navigate to that. It will call on the view model, it will call the on navigated to method. So if we go over here, there is a function called on navigated to, which is coming from view model base class over here. View model base class on navigated to. Right now this is empty, but for each of the view model we will write the code, and it is just going to pass in the parameters and then set that the page has loaded. All right, so with this one additional thing now we need to do, if we go back to our start page and let's actually start listening to this. Let me close this. If I go back, let's close this, go back to my start page. In fact, let me just run the application just now. Let's see how this application looks when I run it. Let's build this and hope there are no errors. So it does come in SK view does not contain a definition for is navigation enabled. Yeah, I mistyped this one. So let's try this again. So build successful, the application is loading. And right now we should not be doing anything. It is a simple start page. So you can see over here, it is not taking any of the design that we have applied. So let me stop this. This is the snippet app that we have created. If I run this, see, it is a simple page. Let's actually go ahead and close all of this so that I can show you how this looks. Go back to our start page. Over here, and let me also open up the startpage.cs file just in case, and maybe let's clean it up a bit. I'm going to clean it up like this. All right, so this is the welcome to .NET MAUI that we are seeing. So how do we make use of everything that we have done so far? So for this, let me actually go to the view models first. Let me go to the start page view models, and did I not add start page view model? Wow, I added it in the wrong place. So let me move this start page view model and snippet.view models. Let's fix this. Okay, so let's clean this up. So snippets.view models, this is the start page view model. What we need to do is we now need to derive this from what did we call it? App view model base. App view model. Okay, I think it is not detecting it because maybe we forgot to add it to the global usings. Let me go to view base. Yes, we forgot to add this. So let me actually remove this from here and move it to my global usings so that it is available everywhere. So global, save this. Yes, this is detected. App view model base, and this actually is now not accepting because it is expecting a couple of parameters. So let's actually go ahead and fix this. So generate the constructor for now. So this is a simple constructor. Let me move it to the second line. So it is just because if you remember our app view model base, it is expecting a couple of parameters to be injected automatically, the API service and the app setting service. So this is what we need to inject in all of the view models. So simple as that. And then over here, let me just set something. So I will say title. So this title is automatically coming from the base, and I'm going to call it mobile snippets app. Okay, let me just give it this title. And now if I go back to my page, so in my page, the start page, I need to make a couple of changes, in fact just one change. So instead of the content page, I need to derive it from the view base, and not view base, I need to derive it from view base. And this view base, it is not appearing because it is not in our global using yet. So let's actually move this to our global usings. So this is a one time that you have to do, but once you have done that, everywhere else it is straightforward. So view base, and now this takes in a parameter which is a start page view model. So this is based on this start page view model, and right now it is complaining that this cannot be of different type, which is fine. We understand because here we are driving it from content page, whereas it needs to be driven from view base. It cannot be derived from content page. Now this one should go away, but it still is giving an error because it does not know what is this view base. It is not showing this error. Sorry, it is defined in a different name, so I need to define it in a namespace. So view base, and where is this view base coming from? So let's add that. Quick action. Unfortunately it is not helping me, so I'll have to type it in XML NS. Let's call it views, and this is coming from my base.views. And let's fix this over here as well. Okay, now let me go back. Let's simply, so right now this is what we have. Now one of the things additionally that I will need to do is a couple of things. I need to define what is the argument type, because here where is my start page.cs? Yeah, here it is saying that it is deriving from start page view model. I need to also specify the same over here. So to do this, I will need to do it. Let me go back here. I will need to define it using the type arguments. And here I can give it namespace view models and then start page view model. Now it is expecting, no, can we add? Yeah, at least this time around it has helped me out. So I can add this namespace view models, and then I'm saying my argument type is start page view model. So now hopefully this error should disappear. If I save this, come back here, maybe it is just a display issue. And some of the additional things I can do here is maybe, see, title I can remove because this title I do not need. Instead I can replace it with a page title property. This is what I defined, and this is going to be coming from the title property of our view model, as you will see. And I am going to say my content display mode is with navigation bar, and my page mode is menu. So, and as a good practice, I will also give it a name, because not right now, not required at this moment, but later on I'll be making use of it. So I'm just going to give it a name, or let's do something, let's leave it. We can leave it or we can add it. And now if I run this, let me run the application again. Now you will be able to see all of that hard work that we have put in coming into play just now. Not exactly. So actually this one, we need to move this inside of, we need to move this into views, view base dot, what did we call it? We call it page content, right? Page content. So we need to put this over here. Let's try it again now. Yeah, here you go. So now you can see this title has come in, and the content has also come in over here. And if I, just to show you, if I change it from menu to say navigate, just to show you, if I change it to navigate, you will see that the icon will be appearing on the side. It did not, I thought, let me just rerun it, because I've noticed sometimes with Visual Studio you need to rerun it. I hope that will fix the issue. Do we have the icons added properly? Yes. That is why, because it has gone back, all of these icons have gone back to this. So icon back, icon, oh, I will need to do it for all of them. Or in fact, let me try something else. What if I go to my project, and I found this sometimes, sorry, edit CS proj file. I have found this to be a quicker fix for me. What I can do is, all this item group that I have added, I usually end up removing this. No, this one I need to leave, this one I need to leave, this one I can leave, this one I can leave, actually this one I can remove, I do not need this. So reload, let's run this again. Now ideally what it should have done is, it should have put it as Maui image correctly, and my font as, this is what I was trying to do earlier as well. So here the build action has not kicked in properly, so it is giving me an error. Let's go ahead and fix this to Maui font. hope Microsoft team fixes these issues as soon as possible. Really hope that. View base was not found. No, okay, it is running. Yeah, so you can see over here, now we have got this back icon, and if I try to click on it, nothing will happen because it cannot go back at the moment. So let's actually go ahead and fix it. So instead of navigate, it is going to be menu page type, and instead of displaying a vertical stack layout inside, what I would want to do is I would want to put in a grid view for the time being. Okay, so let me just put in a grid view, empty grid view. This is ignoring the safe area. It has 4 rows of type height auto. The first 2 rows are auto height, last row is auto height, and in between it will take up all the space, and it will only be visible once the data has been loaded. So for example, if I say some label over here, so label text is equal to hello, in our case right now it will never display because data loaded is set to false by default. This is coming from the base of this app base view model. So if I just run this application, you can see that in action. So you'll say this is never going to come up, but if I go back to my view model, and after this, just to show you, if I just say data loaded equals to true, let me stop and rerun. This time around it will appear, and this is what we will control in our view model. Once the data has been downloaded from the internet from our API call, only then we will set the data loaded to true. So let me just run this. Let's see it in action. Yeah, here you go. So we can see the output over here. One mistake, snippet spelling is not correct. So let's correct this. Mobile Snppts App, and let's actually go ahead and remove this. What I will do, I will put all of this code, at least this base project, in on my GitHub repo over here. So at least you can have a look at it, and you can download and you can start using it. But I would highly recommend that you do not do that. You start it from scratch, create a new Maui project, and just follow the instructions in these couple of videos, part 3 and 4 so far. So until next time, that's all for today. So we'll continue in part 5, and we will actually start building the logic to download the data from the internet and display it, or start displaying it on the screen. So thank you everyone.